He who marries the spirit of the age dies a widower tomorrow. That's a quote I've seen it attributed to a number of people over the years, but it's one that comes back to me often. And it suggests this idea that we live in this current time, this current culture, but within this current time and culture, there are blind spots. There are moral blind spots. There are blind spots to the truth, to truth claims around us. And if we only immerse ourselves in the current time, in the current moment, in that which is trendy or popular or vogue, that's that which is fashionable in the ideological or cultural landscape, we are likely in a flawed position. We're likely misled in some way. So how do we deal with that? And I'd like to suggest that reading old books is a powerful palliative against that. It can help protect us, or at least help us get a little bit beyond the spirit of the age. We're always tied to some degree through this cultural lens, the place in which we find ourselves. It's like you're sitting in a certain vantage point. Imagine you're on a mountain and you're looking out and you see this beautiful vista. You can see everything in front of you, everything that's visible to you from that position. But there's some things you can't see from that position. Maybe there's a tree blocking a certain view. Maybe the things behind you. You can only see what you're looking at that moment. So if you want to broaden your horizons, if you want to have a greater sense of perspective, you want to see things more broadly, you have to push yourself to do that and stretch yourself. And when it comes to the intellectual life, one of the ways that we do that is by reading old books. There's a great quote from C.S. Lewis in a preface to another book, a very old book called On the Incarnation by Athanasius. And in this earlier English edition of the book, C.S. Lewis writes a preface. And I wrote down a little quote from it that has been meaningful to me over the years. He talks about this specifically about how reading old books can protect us from the errors of our age, or at least some of the errors of our age. He wrote, "The only palliative is to keep the clean sea breeze of the centuries blowing through our minds, and that can only be done by reading old books." Or again, back to that quote that I shared at the beginning. He who marries the spirit of the age today will die a widower tomorrow. So how do we broaden our horizons? Maybe we take a little time to read old books. This might seem a little bit crass, but I often suggest to people that for every book that you read by a living author, read a book by someone who's dead. Read a book by someone who lived at a time before you, who saw the world in a different light. Sometimes today we can get this self-righteous view that the way that we see things today is so much better and more improved than how it was before. And certainly there are errors from the past that we can see that were not visible to the people of that age. But could it be, just could it be, that the same thing is true? That they could have seen errors of our age if it were visible to us that we can't see. So here's to reading old books. If this inspires you to pick up an old book and read it, let me know. I would love to hear those stories.